Hello, amazing people. Let me know first, please, if this is your first time finding the channel. I want to try to find out if YouTube is pushing me through these crazy algorithms and if I'm reaching new people and stuff like that. So if you wouldn't mind letting me know if this is your first time seeing this channel, I'd appreciate that. And also how you found this channel, I appreciate that as well. Um, these are special reactions because these are all encapsulated in what I call um, reaction mini series. It's the first time I've done a mini series, and that's because of the way it's presented to me. So this is for Ren. This is all for Ren. This is to show him support, to show him that he has an amazing fan base out there that loves and appreciates and adores him and continuously has his back. At the same time, he's healing us and educating us and also giving us the gift of song, the gift of music appreciation. So it's a whole plethora of things that give and take for each other. So one love is what I'm calling it as well. So this is a reaction mini series, and we're about to react to chapter 5. I've already reacted to the first 4 chapters, so hope you check them out if you haven't done so. So this is chapter 5, and I haven't seen it yet. I never pre-watch anything. I want to be as real and authentic, like our thumbnails say. So as we go is how I see it for the first time. These are not music videos. So music videos, I never pause them because I like to be immersed into them. But these type of things, because it's more or less interviews or him talking, I should say, about his life. So I will pause this periodically throughout his conversation. So just be prepared for that. Don't zoom to the end or anything like that. If you stay toward, and you'll also hear what I have to say about everything as we go. Tell us down in the comments, in what way has Ren helped you out in your life? Whatever you want to share, nothing's too big or small. Whatever you want to release into the atmosphere and share with the rest of us is appreciated, okay? Again, one love. So there is no judgment. And I really applaud you for getting anything off your chest, for telling of anything that's personal to you. But Ren shows that he can do it. And it's healing. It's healing. It's therapeutic. It's educational. It lets people know that that we are real. We have, I say sometimes in like the Romeo Juliet one scene, if you prick me, do I not bleed? So we're human people. Some people lose sight of that, think we're like robots or whatever, So let's show that we're not. All right. Let's get right into this. And what was I going to say? You may have already done this, but I don't like to assume. Some people may pop on here and maybe never heard of Ren, like the first time I never heard of him. So if you haven't done so, please go and subscribe to his channel. I always have the links inside the descriptions. This chapter 5 and all his chapters are on one of his other YouTube channels called @RenMakesStuff. His other one is called @RenMakesMusic, if nobody knew. And then there's another one that I have in the descriptions, Me Versus Me, and I forget the numbers after that. Oh, must be a fantastic trying to get in touch with us. Anyway, let's get on into this. And as I said, I periodically stop seeing this for the first time. Thank you for all encompassing each other and having that one love and that support for Ren. Here we go.
I tried to cling on to music in whatever ways I could during the time I was sick. During my time in Brighton, whenever my energy would allow it, I'd get myself out onto the streets and I'd go busking, about once every 3 weeks or so. It was my second year in Brighton, and I remember one evening heading home with my guitar and my busking amp after a couple of hours of playing on the street. I remember hearing this amazing ethereal voice while heading through the lanes, and I saw that it was coming from this 16-year-old kid. I've always had a deep admiration and feeling of camaraderie for buskers. There's something about the willingness to be able to bare your soul to a street full of strangers that really moves me. I noticed that the kid didn't have an amp. He was singing totally a cappella, but you'd only hear him if you were within a few meters of him. I knew from years on the street and singing a cappella than myself that an amp can change everything. I had this compulsion to offer him mine. I approached him and I told him that if he plugged in and sang while I played guitar, the whole street would stop in its tracks. And I was right. His voice soared across the street and people started stopping. Not long after, we had the whole street's attention. Something quite magic was happening. This was the first day that I met Sam Tompkins, someone who would be integral to my whole life changing.
That is awesome. I was thinking he was talking about Sam, but I wasn't quite sure. So we reacted to a few songs also by Sam on our channel, but Sam just has an amazing, stellar voice, and he's had his own demons as well. Um, and I knew how Ren met him, but I didn't really know the full onslaught story. So he just described it. So it goes to show because I relate a lot of things in life to what I call the ripple effect. Like if you drop like a little pebble or something in the middle of a pond or any body of water, you see it ripples and it keeps going and going and it's a continuation. I think of things like that sometimes, like with this. So when he saw Sam performing, busking, but he didn't have an amp, Ren could have kept on walking by, said, well, that's his problem, and just didn't say anything. But Ren, being such a kind hearted person and also the love of music, he offered the amp. And then on the other end of the spectrum, Sam could have said, no, that's okay. I don't want the amp. Or he could have been rude, or he could have been anything that said no. And then that would have been it. Ren would have went about his way, and then they, would have their own separate stories. But the fact that Ren offered something and Sam accepted it, and then together they made this new type of music collaboration, and then that led into them being friends and stuff like that. Isn't that beautiful? So that's just a rippling effect. Ren started the ripple, and then Sam continued it, and then it's just beautiful. So I just had to mention that. Let us know if you can relate to that. Have you ever heard of like the ripple effect, or do you understand at least my comparison to that? So let's continue to hear the rest of this. This is beautiful already, or something beautiful, I should say right now, not saddening. So it's nice to have a little mixture of both to break the monotony, right? Here we go.
And later on, he had a friend with him, this guy called Connor Honeyset, who would later go on to be my manager. For now, they'd just be a couple of teenagers that I'd have to help out on my way home. It's funny how life works like that. I kept up to date with what Sam was doing on social media. There was a part of me that felt like his successes allowed me to live vicariously through someone else who lived an alternate reality where I never got sick. He was getting videos on SBTV, writing and featuring with some amazing artists, and there were quite a lot of similarities in our writing styles, and all at such a young age. I wasn't really able to do any of that stuff at the time. I was mostly bedbound with the exception of the odd day that I'd be able to go busking. It could have been very easy for that feeling to turn into jealousy, but it never did. I felt truly proud of him. Years later, we go on to write a song together called Blind Eyed, which would transform the trajectory of my whole career.
I had to stop that again for a moment there because one thing that Ren had said that I think a lot of people in the world should try to do and that's to not be jealous of other people that might be doing well, and to just be supportive and wish them the best. That don't mean you have to like go and be their background audience and fan for them and all that type of things. But let's say you have a neighbor or something that you two are amicable or nice and stuff, and you hear that they're doing well or something good happened to them. You could just be happy for them. You don't have to like go all out of your way necessarily, but just be happy for them, because it may be something good happened to you. And wouldn't it be nice if in return they said, oh, I heard such and such, congratulations. And that's it. If that can happen a lot more in the world, but there's a lot of jealousy going on in the world, and not everybody is like that. They think that you think you're better than them, or whatever reason, and that's not always the case. I know that there's some people out there who do think like that, but I'm talking about nice, genuine, innocent people. Something good happens to them, just be happy for them. So that was great. Now Ren was going through his problems, and that could have made him a miserable person where he didn't care about anybody. But luckily, that wasn't the case. On top of Ren at that time being sick and stuff like that, and only certain times when he felt good enough, he went busking. Sam started to grow in some things, and he felt happy for him. That again shows Ren's character, which is amazing. So take heed to that. And maybe the next time you hear somebody that you run across or that is doing well, just wish them well. Even if you just mentally wish them well, you don't even have to go out of your way and call them or knock on their door. Just mentally, oh, that's good that they're doing good, because that can make you feel a little bit better about yourself. Just think about that. So let's get back to this.
During this time, I was still desperately jumping from one treatment to another treatment. And now that my diet had become more limited, I was trying new diets with no luck. As the options in the alternative health world started to dwindle, I started searching for answers in the divine. In the former years, I had moments where I found myself sitting in churches, talking in tears to whoever might be listening, or experimenting with energetic healing modalities like Reiki. With time, my searching started taking even more unusual turns. I started looking to things like exorcists. Once you exhaust all rational explanations and treatments, the irrational suddenly starts looking more palatable. I had a skeptic's mind, but I had nothing to lose because there were no other good options.
That dreaded
My friend
page
Momoko's
turn.
mother was from Japan. She aligned herself with a sect of Buddhism called the Nichiren Daishonin. They would chant a repeated phrase over and over again while holding prayer beads. The chant would go, Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, over and over again. Its intention was to align you with your innate Buddhahood, to cleanse you of any bad karma and put you in alignment with your true destiny on earth, to find peace, to find tranquility. Momoko's mum gifted me with my own set of beads, and I began to chant every morning. Eventually I joined a group in Brighton after a serendipitous meeting with an incredibly eccentric, bright colourful suit-wearing piano tuner. He spotted my beads and he grinned at me and he pulled out his own. We'd sit in a small group and we'd chant for hours sometimes. There was something comforting about trusting the course of my life and illness to an incomprehensible power outside of myself. I spoke openly in these meetings that I loved feeling part of something, but that I really struggled saying with certainty that I believed in it. This was the issue I faced with every religion I temporarily aligned myself with, looking for answers. Something in me couldn't bring myself to take ancient texts as gospel, all too aware of how man twists so-called spiritual doctrines to suit his own power-hungry pursuits. I wanted divine proof. I sometimes screamed at the sky or the waves and begged for it. I was answered with sickness. If there was a creator, I was angry with it. The irony...
Very powerful right there. Not everybody is the same, as you know this, but when you hear what he's gone through and the lengths that he's gone through to try to find some type of peace or some to be cured or to deal with what he's dealing with at that time, you know, I always try to compare that self to myself to see like what I have gone that far, because when is somebody's breaking point? Like, you know what I mean? Like somebody might have a problem in their life and give up after a week. Somebody might last and give up after a month. Somebody might last and give up after a year. He's had problems for years, plural. And I'm so glad that he did not give up. But I know it's hard for other people. They may not have or think that they have the same longevity in trying to get through the pain, get through the darkness. So I guess the only thing I could suggest, because I'm not a medical profession, is go however long you can go. Like, don't stop and say, I can't keep going on, because choose your words wisely, basically. Can't is a very strong word. Can't should only be applied when you actually can't. Like, you know, if I'm walking to a wall and I walk into a wall, I can't go through the wall, like by just walking. You know what I mean? Like can't means like it's definitive, you can't. But if can't just means like, oh my goodness, I'm just so tired of trying to find resolve, I just give up. That's not can't. That's that you just won't stop, that you will stop. You know what I mean? So, and I'm not saying any of this is easy. So please don't get that twisted. I'm just saying, like, we all love Ren and believe in Ren and admire him for things that he's gone through and that he's survived through. So use that as your fuel if there's something in your life that's been bothering you, or in something and you realize, wow, it's been like 2 years and I still have this problem. Just keep going as far as you can allow, because hopefully that light at the end of the tunnel will be right around the corner. Because there is no definitive time. You can't say, oh, in X amount of years, this will fix. Hopefully, I could just say it'll be less time for you than more. You know, if it took somebody 5 years, okay, well, that's better than 10 years. And just do what you can do. Do what you're able to do, because you deserve it. I just had to mention that. But hearing his journey and hearing him doing all these different types of things that he normally would not have done, uh, but he keeps trying to find something. He keeps grabbing for something and something, and I'm glad that he has. I'm glad that he still does, because he wouldn't have been here otherwise. So bravo. Let's get back into this. I hope I'm making sense, but I speak off the dome with pops in my head, no scripts. Um, Hopefully something will resonate with you.
Irony was that I envied people of faith. I felt like people who truly trusted themselves to a higher power seemed to possess a level of calm and acceptance that I didn't. One of my stranger encounters was going to see a shaman. The shaman, of course, was a middle-aged white woman in a quite nice-looking cottage in Brighton. She told me to lie down, and she proceeded to lean over my body and made noises like coughing up phlegm while speaking an unknown ancient language that seemed to include whistling noises. After about 20 minutes of making distressed groaning noises over my back, she paused in contemplation for a while and proceeded to tell me that I'd been killed by a sword in my past life. She made sucking noises near the supposed stab site on my chest, and then she spat into a bucket. She then placed a little stone into my hand, and she told me that I had to bury it on a high hill in Brighton on the next full moon. The most depressing part of this story is during the next full moon, I did indeed find a big hill, dug a small hole, and I buried the stone in it. Surprising to say, fuck all happened. It was this journey into the spiritual unknown that led me to a very unsettling experience. I located a therapist online who had claimed to overcome ME herself. She specialised in it and dealt with people's past trauma, but also worked with energies like Reiki. I had to get the train to where she lived. She met me in the car and drove me in silence back to hers. There was a bit of an unusual energy about her. I've always been really good at reading people. I can't quite explain it, but sometimes when I meet someone, it's like I have a sixth sense for whether or not they'll play a significant role in my life. This person's energy felt alien to me. When we arrived at her, she told me that she sometimes would consult with her horses about people's health conditions. It was at this moment I knew that she was probably insane. Nonetheless, I shared a lot about my life. We got into the trauma of living with sickness, what it was like to constantly mourn your own life. It was comforting at first, and it felt like a safe space, until it got a bit weird. One day she offered me a glass of water before a Reiki session, and during the session I fell into a deep sleep. When I came around, multiple hours had passed, which was peculiar for me. I usually have issues with sleeping and couldn't drift off, particularly not in unfamiliar environments. She assured me it was total normal and to get plenty of water, and I thought nothing of it. Lines started getting somewhat blurry when she'd invite me for meals with her and her husband. I took it as friendliness, but I noticed that she started messaging me outside of clinic hours. One time I agreed to create music for her in exchange for some extra sessions. Not long after, I started getting strange messages in my Facebook inbox. She started telling me how she knew that all my previous songs had been about her, which they hadn't. When I dismissed this, she would sometimes message me saying that she was outside of my house, telling me that our souls were bonded and that bad things would happen to me if we weren't together. To put it lightly, I was already in a pretty weird emotional place because of years of sickness. So having someone in the position of trust abuse their position like this shook me, and it shook my trust in therapy even more. It shook my trust in people in general. I told her to never contact me again, and I blocked her, but she would still occasionally get through on other numbers. One time she'd phoned my mum's house relentlessly. My mum, knowing the details, told her to stop harassing me and threatened to get the police involved after things which went silent. This was also the year that I met my second ever girlfriend, who I'd later be engaged to for a short amount of time.
Ooh, a lot to unpack there. I didn't know he had a second girlfriend that then went to engagement. I didn't know any of that. So that was new for me. Well, all this is new for me, except the Sam part. Um, and I didn't know about this cray woman that was really weird and getting stalkerish. That was really scary. Especially when he mentioned that she gave him something to drink and he got really tired and fell asleep. Like, you don't know what the hell could have happened in that situation. So, um, it's a definitely scary thing. I mean, I hope it doesn't deter people from, like I said, he goes above and beyond, and he's tried all different things to try to get some type of solace, some type of cure. So he's gone to all these extravagant places, but still, everybody, always check your surroundings. Always, if you can, do research, see if you can find something about people, like if there's somebody who claims to be able to have some type of healing effect. And sometimes if you need to, go with somebody else, like if you're supposed to meet in somebody's house or some dark area or whatever like that, maybe you should even go with somebody, because you don't know. Unfortunately, there's people out there that either abuse their power or they're just straight up cray cray, and maybe they don't have your best intentions, or there's just too weird. Sometimes if it's too weird and your gut's telling you something, then you should just not do it. But yeah, so take some of that advice. But it still goes to show that he so badly wants to try to find some way to get better and deal with things, that he's willing to take risks. It's okay to take risks. I hate saying that word. It's hard to say it. But sometimes it's worth it. But like I said, just do some research if you can, or go with people if you can, depending on the circumstances. Do you know what I mean? Let me know what you mean in the comments. This will also let me know if you've been watching this damn far with me. So say in the comments, I know what you mean. All right. Let's get back to it. Oh, and then the turning of that page, I said in some of the other chapters, like, since he's reliving this as he's reading this, what he wrote, every time he turns the page, I take that as him taking a deep breath inside, saying, "Up, here comes another page of my life," which, isn't always wonderful. So let's get back to it. Here we go.
My little sister had already set the relationship up in her mind. She met this girl in Bristol who she got on with super well, and somehow she wingmanned me and planted a seed in her brain that she'd be perfect for her older brother, me. My sister's friend had moved to Brighton, but I was blissfully unaware of this matchmaking. At this point, I was living in a house share in Rose Hill Terrace in Brighton with some lunatics I'd met at Ben's house, and Momoko had moved down from Cornwall. The house was only meant for 2 people, but Momoko and I had pretended we were married and pretended that we were going to have a baby to be able to get it. As soon as the deed was signed, we moved in with about 5 other friends, one living in the living room, one in the attic, one in the study, one in the conservatory. It's safe to say rent was pretty fucking cheap. One night my friend Luke was throwing a party and she rocked up with a few of her friends. My sister had pretty good taste in girls and I had a crush on her instantly. At some point in the night we both ended up lying on my bedroom floor on a bunch of sofa cushions while about 6 other people were sleeping in various places in my room. One somehow in the upper compartment of my wardrobe. True story. She asked me to tell her a bedtime story and I made up the most unhinged story I could think of. By some sort of miracle she found my madness endearing and we ended up kissing a lot and staring into each other's eyes till we fell asleep. It's strange navigating a relationship when you're sick. I couldn't go out to eat at restaurants because I was allergic to everything. I didn't have the energy to do most normal things that couples do. Some days I'd be so full of brain fog that my personality disappeared, and it was hard to explain that to someone without them thinking that maybe you were just being a bit off with them. I think losing Joe, losing Callum, losing the record deal, losing my last girlfriend, it had all made me wary of getting attached to good things. Quite a lot of my illness made me feel ugly, and it's hard to accept love when you feel ugly. Nonetheless, she did love me, and with time our relationship grew. It was around this time I was contacted by a woman called Jennifer Breer, an incredibly inspiring woman whose journey seemed to parallel mine. She was an incredibly ambitious PhD student at Harvard who one day was struck down by a mystery illness that confined her to a wheelchair. She spent most of her life tirelessly searching for a way out. She was doing a Kickstarter to raise money to make a film called Canary in a Coal Mine. It would later go on to be renamed Unrest, and it would go on to win multiple awards, and it's still watchable on Netflix to this day. It's an incredibly important and very moving documentary about the horrors of living with ME. I recommend.
I have to pause that right there so I can write this down. Real and Authentic People, a movie called Unrest, because I want to watch that on Netflix. And then let me take a snapshot of that. See? Real and authentic people. So all right, so let's continue what he's talking about. Here we go.
Recommend everyone checks that out. At the time, I started health blogging. I created a series of video diaries that I named Me versus ME. It would be a video document of my various trials with different alternative treatment approaches, and generally a look into the life of someone with a chronic illness. I didn't know it back then, but those videos would save my life. I guess I was occupying a place that was needed, as quite quickly many people in the chronic health communities gravitated towards my videos. Every day, I'd be sent messages telling the stories of the people who had fallen in between the cracks in the floorboards. There was heartbreaking stories. Stories of frustration and confusion. People mourning the people that used to be. Some who were new to this world. Some who had been there for decades. I tried to help them in whatever way I could. I tried to comfort people. In my own little way, I became somewhat of a spokesperson for the voiceless. I felt their pain like it was my own. This
little phrase he just said there was very profound to me. And the spokesperson for the voiceless. I love that. I love that very, very much, because there's some people that are either shy, or they may not be shy, but they don't know who to contact or who to reach, or they don't want to bother anybody with their problems. But if you find people at least who have similar problems than you, then it's no longer like a problem. Like to me, I would feel more comfortable talking to somebody who also has similar conditions as me, because then they could of course 100% relate. But even if it's not people who have your similar conditions, but they just have a heart and compassion, and they really want to help people or to give some type of proverbial shoulder to lean on, if you can find those people, then that's just as good. But a spokesperson for the voiceless is perfect, because again, yeah, some people just don't know who to talk to, or they are shy, or they don't want to feel that they're bothering somebody. But if there's somebody like Ren who says, okay, follow my lead, or I'll guide you, or I'll be there for support, that's just a wonderful thing. And it again shows his character. These are things that he doesn't have to do. Like, he has his own problems. He could have been the type of person that says, I just need to focus on myself. But he's not. He deals with his own problems on top of willing to offer help to other people. That really is a big person. And I just applaud him for that. And he's so young. You know, I'm 53 years old. I know people in their 50s, 60s, 70s even, and 40s who don't have half of the amount of caringness and understanding and dignity that young Ren has. Isn't he in his 20s, or is he 30 yet? I forget. Let me know in the comments. I really forget. I think he's older 20s. I forget. But he's still younger than the ages I just mentioned. So bravo to him. Bravo to him. I know he doesn't really like praise or anything like that, but he deserves praise. Because again, he's so young, but he fights and fights and fights for his own demons, but he's willing to help other people with their demons while he's still handling himself. And on top of giving the love of music, music is healing him, is healing us, is making us laugh, is making us cry, is making us learn. So all of this stuff encompasses, he deserves all the good, positive things that do happen to him. He deserves it. And I hope that he knows that it's okay to appreciate good things that come into your life when you're a deserving person. You know, so yeah, that's my thoughts, and I'm sticking with it. So let's get back to this, okay?
This new pursuit gave me a sense of purpose that I desperately needed. Without purpose, I felt useless. I made a lot of friends, and I'd write to them on a daily basis. Some of those friends died. Some of those friends that decided to take their lives, and they were wicked people. I talked to them a lot. It was this that ultimately made me decide to stop, but that wouldn't be until years later. Immersing myself in the horrors of this illness and trying to carry some of the weight for the others while I still wasn't strong enough to carry my own eventually took its toll. Jen Bria had found my videos and she asked me to make a song for her documentary. I was honoured. I wrote a song called Patience. I'll leave you with a video taken at a time to finish off this chapter.
And I've learnt some lessons that will be so valuable for like, so it's a blessing and a curse being this ill, because it's completely changed me. Like it's turned me from a little cocky teenager into somebody who's quite this, I guess, prepared for things now. Like I feel like once I've gone through this, I'll throw anything at me and it'll be okay. But at the same time, as much as I see it as a blessing, I hate it. I do hate it. I think it was Thomas Edison that was like, I haven't failed, I've just found 1,000 things that don't work, which is kind of nice to look at it that way, like I'm just eliminating things. But it really challenges my mind, and yeah, it's just gotten to the point where I'm spending, I say, like 95% of my life in a bedroom, which kind of sucks, because my mind is in such a different place in my body. My mind craves life so much.
It's alright, it's okay, I'm feeling brave, gonna face this day. It's okay, it's alright, no tears will kiss my cheeks tonight, and it's all good, and I'm just fine. My words ring out like hollow shells. Just slow down, it takes time, but time moves slow, I know this well. And my heart breaks 1,000 times a day. But for every hope that dies, another one takes its place. Because I have the strength of a mountain, and I've got the courage of the deep blue sea, and I have the heart of a lion, and the stars burn bright inside of me. And although you test me, my God, I stand so proudly. Can't you see that I have the strength of a mountain, and I'll take all you throw at me. It's quite scary, I know that, 'cause I've been here for some time. But all that prepares me for a day when I can truly shine. 'Cause I've been so broken, and picking up fragments of myself, I'll glue them back together, so I can stand at the edge of this world and yell that my heart breaks 1,000 times a day. For every hope that dies, another one takes its place. Because I have the strength of a mountain, and I've got the courage of the deep blue sea, and I have the heart of a lion, and the stars burn bright inside of me. And although you test me, my God, I stand so proudly. Can't you see that I have the strength of a mountain, and I'll take all you throw at me. Dust the cobwebs off this sheath, and I'll take the sword of my belief, and in this storm I will not flinch, and I will not move, no, not an inch. Because I have the strength of a mountain, I've got the courage of the deep blue sea, and I'll have the heart of a lion, and the stars, they burn bright inside of me. But although you test me, my God, I stand so proudly. Can't you see I have the strength of a mountain, and I'll take all you throw at me.
There's not a lot more to say, because I've been talking throughout what he had written down. But I will say this: he encapsulated everything that we all should try to strive for in his lyrics. And he said, I have the strength of a mountain, I have the courage of the deep blue sea, and I have the heart of a lion. We should try to live by those three things in everything that we do. because you have to have strength to get through this world. Um, whether you're really sick or not sick, there's times you need strength to get through things, to have courage to get through things, whether it's sick or not sick, or it could be anything. You could insert it into anything into your life. The courage to apply for a job, the courage to say no to somebody who's offering something to you that's doesn't sound right to you. But then also the courage to, like, if you are sick or if you have an ailment or something's wrong with you, the courage to try to seek out information, um, because you're talking about yourself. You know what I mean? And that strength and the heart of a lion. You have to have heart to believe in things. You have to have heart to, like what he does, to have a heart to care for other people, because he could have been selfishly just worried about himself, but he doesn't. He cares about other people as well. So you have to have heart for that. So that's a powerful little part there of his song that you should all apply in your life. And seeing him back there in that home that he was in, and he said like 95% of the time he was there. I haven't seen him there in a while. It's sad. We reacted to one or two videos, I think, there. I think one was called Jessica. Um, but just knowing like that time of his life is one thing when you're sick. It's another thing when you're so sick that you're basically in that same room, wherever it is, for most of your existence. Like that's just, oh my goodness. But that song was so captivating and compelling, and it was visceral. It was raw. Even the way he said it, like, oh my God, like when he referenced that, like, wow, it's a doozy, like just dealing with this. Like he doesn't sugarcoat that part. He tells you, it's the struggle is real. So thank you for being a part of this journey. Let's again support REN. Let's also take things that REN has given us and again insert it into our own lives. Let's be kind to others. Let's have a heart of a lion. And like that one love, as I mention all the time. So thanks for being a part of this. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments. So thank you. This is Tazzz with Tazzz N Philly. And if you want to see some of the other chapters or whatever, you can go right there.